Do you ever feel like you've just been dealt a bad hand in life? Like, if that one thing never would have happened, everything would have been fine. Or maybe if you just had decent parents, none of this would have happened in the first place. Well, today I'm talking about the victim role and how to stop it, because it's something that creeps into a lot of people's minds and they don't even know it's there, and it might be wrecking how you function in your life and sabotaging your success. For those who are new here, I'm Ketra Thompson, and I'm a certified master hypnotist and a life recovery coach. So what I do is I help my clients identify what's really holding them back subconsciously. We go back on a subconscious level through the hypnotherapy process and reframe those beliefs so that you have a new operating system moving forward, giving you a huge amount of traction in the areas that you want to heal with your success, with your love life, with any part of what's not functioning in your world. So if you'd like to learn more, there is a link in the description below to my website, gives you all the information, but also there is a link to set up a completely free complimentary consultation call where you and I can actually chat, find out what's going on with you, get to the heart of it, and hopefully I can give you some really good clarity and help you create a path moving forward with my best recommendations. So if you want to check that out, again, the link is in the description below. And before I jump into this, I do want to remind you to please click like and subscribe so you can be notified every time I post a new video. So I know a little something about the victim role. And I have been a victim before. So my parents divorced when I was 5. That was quite traumatizing for me. And especially because my dad ended up moving across the country for 5 years because his job moved him there. And so I could play the victim role for that alone if I wanted to. And then my 17-year marriage ended with my ex having a bipolar diagnosis and having some affairs. And I could certainly play the victim role on that one. But what happened next is actually my biggest challenge for this, is that because of how crushed I was after my divorce, I ended up in a very short second marriage with someone who was definitely on the narcissistic spectrum and had a lot of controlling, manipulative, bullying, withholding of affection, all of these things that just came at me out of nowhere. I was already sort of in this very vulnerable place after my divorce, and I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't understand it, and I could certainly play the victim from that scenario. But the reality is, even if you are the victim, even if you have been victimized, you don't have to stay in the victim role. And it might exist in you without you even knowing it if you're subconsciously making comments, even internally, about all people are this way or that way, or if this wouldn't have happened, then I would have been fine. And it's all your focusing externally outside of yourself so that it's everyone else's fault. And when you get into a place of being healed within yourself and accepting that you are not perfect, you can see these things a little differently. In my first marriage, he's a really good guy. We're still good friends. And he has lots of good things to say about me and vice versa. In that narcissistic relationship, I can see that this was childhood trauma, that this was caused by all these things within him and really had nothing to do with me. And at the same time, I can see how I made choices to stay and try to fix that person for longer than I should have. Now, there's nothing wrong with giving someone a chance to grow and change, but I did it for too long. And in retrospect, I can see that I played a part in allowing something to go on longer than it should have, and that I could have probably gotten out of there sooner, right? So in the end, I have survived these things. I have learned from these things. I have grown immensely and even changed everything about what I do. I changed careers. I have changed my views. I've let go of control on so many things. I've just changed the way I function in the world, really because of that last toxic relationship, it took me to a place of having to grow and learn. So there's always something that we can look at and grow from in these situations. So that's good to keep in mind. So let's look at some areas where these might show up and you might not even realize it. Do you ever blame your lack of success on the fact that you have an awful boss? Well, the truth is, you're choosing to stay and you're abdicating your power. And let's say you think, well, there's nothing else out there for me. Well, maybe, but if you're not even looking for something else, if you're not even applying other places, if you aren't thinking about something else you'd rather be doing and taking action on it, then you're choosing to stay stuck. That doesn't mean the first place you apply to, you'll get the job of your dreams. It means you're not taking any steps to move in a direction that's more satisfying. You're just staying content in complaining about how awful this is. So other ways are, do you think things like, if I had just chosen a different spouse, I would be happier? Well, the truth is, what part do you or did you play in the dysfunction? Did you hide your feelings? Did you get vulnerable? Or did you hold back and withhold? Did you not use boundaries when you needed to and enabled or allowed behavior that wasn't acceptable because you weren't being assertive in yourself? There's always a bigger picture. It's never 100% black and white. And I don't say that in a way to say that, oh, everyone holds equal responsibility. It's not true. There are true abusers and there are victims. But it's whether or not we stay in the victim role that makes the difference. Because someone doing something heinous or awful to us isn't our choice, but it is our choice how we want to frame the way we think and feel about it after the fact, and how we want to apply those beliefs to other things in our life and future things that come into our life. So staying the victim is really dangerous. It robs you of your autonomy. It keeps you stuck either in a work environment or a relationship environment that isn't healthy for you. And it makes you dependent on the actions of others for your happiness. It doesn't help you tune into you and what you need and help you take action there. It's looking outside of yourself at others, hoping that they will give you what you need. So this can keep you stuck in a lot of ways. It can keep you stuck in the awful job, stuck in the awful relationship, stuck in toxic family dynamics, even extended family or friend dynamics, when you really aren't being honest with yourself about what you're allowing to have into your life and why you don't have the strong boundaries that you need. So here are some things that you can do to help yourself step out of the victim mentality and actually take your life back, get your autonomy back. I want you to ask yourself, where am I letting someone else make life choices for me without my input? What am I afraid of if I make a move here? And am I afraid of failing and feeling the shame of that failure being all my decision without someone else to project that blame onto? These are really big questions and they matter. So take some time to ask yourself what these are and get honest with yourself. Because the answers to these are really the key to the pattern that's going on underneath all of this. When we constantly focus on something, it gets bigger. So if our focus is always on someone else's dysfunction, someone else's awfulness, or whatever, it just seems to expand in our life. So we need to get to a point where we can take control by healing those inner parts of us that are holding us back. So what is holding you back? It's my experience that what is holding most people back is their subconscious programming. They have a belief in them that is telling them that the whole world's going to judge them in one way or another. They're terribly afraid of failure. They're afraid of success even. And the thing is that it might sound silly, but if we haven't experienced a lot of success in our life, we don't even really know what to do with it when it comes. We haven't created a container for that yet, right? So through the hypnotherapy process, I help my clients go back on a subconscious level and reframe the belief systems that are driving this behavior so that you can actually change the way you're living. You can take accountability for your part without beating yourself up, without telling yourself how dumb that decision was or that mistake or whatever, where you can have self-compassion and step into your power so you can be assertive, you can express your feelings, and you can start creating boundaries in your life that are going to keep you from repeating this pattern. So it's really impactful if you do this with hypnotherapy because it actually goes into your subconscious mind. But if you want to do this on your own, again, start asking the questions. That's where you want to start. Self-reflection is always the best place to start. Where am I letting other people call the shots in my life? What am I afraid of? Am I afraid of feeling the shame of making a decision on my own? That can be paralyzing, especially in this day and age where people think everyone's looking at them and judging them, because we're in this social media world where we're looking at everyone else and judging them, and then we think they're looking at us. But the reality is people just don't care about you the way you think they do. They don't care because they're too wrapped up in their own pain, in their own struggles, in their own life. And that alone is helpful in setting us free to live a life that's really satisfying, creating relationships, connections, success through work, whatever it is. If you're playing the victim, you're not being assertive in your life. And if you'd like some help with that, check out that link in the description below. I'd love to have a consultation call with you so we can get to the heart of what's going on and I can make my best recommendations for you in your journey. So until next time, I hope you curate a life by your own design.